100 of the greatest science fiction movies. And it's me, your boy, C, the host of most of the stuff right here on the Paprika Network, man. We're talking about my list of what I think the 100 greatest sci-fi movies are, from 100 to 1, one a day for the first 100 days of 2022. Yesterday, on yesterday's joint, we talked a little bit about RoboCop, Dead or Alive. You're coming with me. It's one of the sci-fi classics, man. It's one of the sci-fi classics. People are already hating that I had it so low on the list. I can't help it. I think it is it's great for its thematics, not as great as far as an actual whole movie. But that was yesterday. Go back and listen to the RoboCop episode if you haven't. Today, we're on 92. Number 92 gives us Solaris, a 1972 movie directed by Andrei Tarkovsky, man. And a whopping 167 minutes, I think is what this is. Let me go back and double check my math. Yeah, 167 minutes. Good Lord, what were y'all thinking? And man, Solaris, oh boy, our first of 7, if I count it correctly, foreign language films that are on this list has entered the chat. Starring Donatis Bayonis. I'm not sure if I pronounced that right. I'm sure he'll reach out to me. And Natalia Bondarchuk, the daughter, by the way, of Russian director Sergei Bondarchuk, the second dopest Russian director ever. Who's number one? Well, it's Andrei Tarkovsky, who made Solaris. It's about a psychologist that is sent to a space station orbiting a planet called Solaris to investigate the death of a doctor and the mental problems of the cosmonauts on the station. He soon discovers that the water on the planet is a type of brain which brings out repressed memories and obsession. Based on a book by a Russian author, Stanislav Lem, this joint screened in the USSR in limited runs for 15 years without any breaks, which I think makes Solaris the Russian Rocky Horror Picture Show. But anyways, something I've said before many times on Paprika, and I'll likely say many times during the run of this podcast. I think science fiction, sci-fi is at its best when it's telling human stories through a science fiction lens, and that is certainly the case here in Solaris, man. It uses the scientists on board the station to raise some pretty complex questions about humanity and existence, and it also attests kind of to the indomitable will of human existence and trying to find ways out of their situations, man. If you're turned off because it's a different language, I implore you to please sit down and watch this movie. This is one of those, like, I think every foreign language movie should be watched with subtitles so you can hear the actors with their original inflections and how the story was meant to be told. Not dubs. We're subs in this house, not dubs. But if you cannot get past subs and you have to watch this dubbed, then I'll grant you a dub pass for this movie, just to make sure that you finally sit down and check this bad boy out. It's about loss and grief and how loss and grief can be handled. This dude is sent out to the space station, and I haven't seen the American remake with Steven Soderbergh and George Clooney. I've heard it's not very good, but I feel like if this movie was made today, a lot of the subtext would be stripped right out of it. The dude gets there and he realizes that things aren't quite right on this ship, and the atmosphere of Solaris is making the remaining cosmonauts something more than hallucinate. It's managing to make physical manifestations of things that they've tried to bury. And in the case that we have here in Solaris, it's our main character, Chris Kelvin. His wife committed suicide years prior to this, which is something that still, causes him great grief. And sure enough, within like a day of him being on the station, like, he starts seeing his fucking wife. And the longer he's on this station here on the planet of Solaris, the more and more physical and corporeal his wife ends up being, to the point where she can start interacting with other people that is on this station. And it's just the nature of what is real what our human brains will accept as real. What is life in the first place? It asks a lot of heavy questions, man. And it's peak pure science fiction, I think. With no Solaris, you don't get Event Horizon, I don't think. Akira Kurosawa called this one of his favorite movies, and if it's coming from him, you know it's going to be dope, right? Its influence can be found on Nolan's Inception, a movie we'll talk about later on down the road. It's also got a bit of Shining to it, man. The author I talked about, Stanislaw Lem, isn't a big fan of the movie, much like King wasn't a big fan of Kubrick's Shining, because the director, Tarkovsky, wanted to make an artistically independent version of Lem's novel, which is pretty much what Kubrick did with King's Shining. It is a dope movie. If you have HBO Max, it is on HBO Max as part of the Criterion collection as well. If you have the Criterion streaming service, you go ahead and check it out there. But however you get your hands on this movie, make sure this is another one of those phones down movies, unless you speak Russian. Because there's all sorts of little weird quirks and surprises all throughout this movie. Like, it takes its time to get going, but when he lands on that station, man, it's you're off to the races after that. So go ahead and check this out, man. Number 92 on the list, Solaris, man. We'll be back 24 hours, man, with yet another one. Until then, you all take it easy and have a good one.